Right. Ladies and gentlemen, can I call you to order, please? This is our final presentation of the week. It feels only like the last few minutes when we started on Tuesday morning, looking at smart cities, presentations from Eamon, David Pringle and Matt from Muse. Then we had a tour de force from Nancy and our university colleagues, Rowena and Chris from Bruntwood, talking about how we were using science to drive the growth of the city. Yesterday, we had Linda, colleagues from the Airport City. Mike Ingle gave an inspiring and radical presentation, some would argue, about St John's and how we're creating on the back of that new quarter a new focus for enterprise, culture, living. And this morning, great presentations from Eamon and Deborah about how we were placing housing at the heart of our growth strategy. Thanks to all of them. And now we come to Gary. Gary Neville. I find this quite unusual, really, because for 10 years of my life, I spent most of my time booing him. Particularly in derby matches. But I have to say, it's been a real pleasure over the last couple of years to work with Gary and his colleagues. He brings a fresh, really strong new approach to property development. We've got to know each other quite well. We now talk about City as much as we talk about United. And it gives me a great pleasure to welcome him back to the Manchester MIPIM stand and to thank him for joining us again. Gary.
I do get more nervous actually doing this and playing football and going on Sky. I've been watching Chelsea and City and Arsenal the last couple of weeks, so it's quite unusual to see English people enjoying themselves in Europe. It's not been the greatest of times. So I'm just going to speak today a little bit about what I've been doing in property terms. Probably not as much as some of you, but I'm young into this game and I'm energised by Manchester and proud, obviously, to be a Mancunian. And I'm just going to take you through, that's what my activities are at the moment, far too many. So on the property side, I started my property interest as a 23-year-old when I designed, built and constructed my own house, and it was all very local at the time in Bury and Bolton, and eventually knew that I had to step into the big world, which for me now is Manchester. And obviously there's 4 projects that are either just been completed, just about to go into planning, just starting, that I'll go through with you today. On the commercial side, I can't see the presentation, it'd help, wouldn't it? The hospitality side of things is more to run the restaurants and hotels that we've just opened. The digital, we're in talks at the moment to acquire a digital company or part of a digital company in Manchester. I believe strongly that interior, PR, media, digital, all links together, and it's something that I've found has been a whole, when I've been looking at property development over the last, I think, 3-4 years, that idea of how you bring everything together holistically. And I do believe we are in, obviously, a digital world. We mentioned about it being a smart city, and I want a piece of that. We found a company that we really believe will enhance all the things that I'm doing, obviously with sport as well, because I do believe that digital and sport has a huge connection. Zerum is a development and design consultancy, which I think I presented on last year. It looks after all my property side of things, but also a number of other developers as well that do fantastic jobs on planning, M&E, and development and construction management. So that's explains Zerum. On the sports side, I'm with England, and we're working towards Euro 2016. I hope that we can deliver a successful tournament. The Academy 92 and Salford City that we've looked at in the last 12 months, and obviously Sky. I work on Sky, which a lot of you will know. So that's pretty much what my activities are at the moment, split into different sectors. So Zerum, like I say, we moved into our own building on Jordan Street about 12 to 18 months ago, and it was a very quick purchase. I think we did it in something like 3 days. And I fell in love with the building because of that, the top floor, which I converted into my own apartment. which we use as a meeting room as well. I stay there at weekends, I stay there during the week, but I think I mentioned last year about how we want to try and get people living back in Manchester, and the idea of the offices being downstairs, myself being able to stay upstairs, I think it's a smart way of working. You know, smart doesn't always necessarily mean digital or other aspects. It can mean the way in which you're efficient in your life, and I think for me now, the idea that I can wake up at 7 in the morning and be in a breakfast meeting, or, you know, be there at 7 at night, but still feeling like I'm at home is important to me. So that's what we did up on the top floor. If any of you want to come and look around it, you're more than welcome to. If you're a United fan. That's just another angle of it. So we made it into a leisure space. It's all open plan. It's got a bar in there so it can host events, and like I say, we've got a kitchen. It's fantastic space, but it's something that I'm really proud of. It's only a small project, but it's something that I'm proud of doing, and I believe, you know, we're really happy with. So Old Trafford, the hotel, we've just finished this. It's opened 2 weeks ago. It's been 4 years, a long project, had our ups and downs as you always do in development, but we're delighted with it, and many of you might have been in. You're more than welcome to come and stay there or experience it, the cafes, the restaurants. And we believe that we've created a unique property. The view, obviously, from the hotel bedrooms into the forecourt of Old Trafford. And it's got fantastic F&B spaces. That's an image of the restaurant. And we wanted to create a space that was special, not just on match days, but non-match days as well. So you've got in there, obviously, a wonderful view. It's got the most spectacular view from the conference floor for up to 300 people. And my commitment was that I was going to build out of it a supporters club for Manchester United fans, and that's an image of the supporters club finished, which we're really proud of. And the initial feedback from United fans, even though they've not particularly enjoying the football too much at the moment, particularly on Monday night, but they've enjoyed the space in there, and I think you'll see that there it's a space that the fans can be proud of, and we're really proud of. And it was my initial commitment 5, 6, 7 years ago that when I finished, I wanted to build a supporters club for United fans, and that's what we've done, and that housed in the bottom floor. And probably the most unique space is that we've got a five-a-side football pitch on the roof. Those panels above retract, the 3 middle panels, and it can also double up as a wedding, as a function space. And I think when I look at property, I like to do something different with it. I just can't. It sounds great, obviously you do a deal and you want to make money out of it, but I think there's more to it than that. I think you've got to try and do something that leaves an imprint in people's minds, and I think that's what I've always tried to do wherever I've designed or built a property, is to try and make it as special as it possibly can be. And that's a very unique space, I think you'll agree, in most hotels or leisure buildings. So stock exchange, 1 second. I bought the stock exchange. Ryan's got a small share in this as well, about 18 months ago. Was it 18 months ago? 12 to 18 months ago. And for a very specific use. We want it to be, obviously, we've tagged it Manchester's original business club. Think of MIPIM every single day, all year round. And the idea that obviously Manchester connects at different events over obviously the week of MIPIM. It has other events during the year as well, but we felt as though there needed to be a space in Manchester to connect all businesses all year round. And we feel as though the Stock Exchange is the perfect building to do that in. It's obviously an iconic building in Manchester, the original Stock Exchange, and we received planning 2 or 3 weeks ago, and there'll be a mix of uses in there. We believe that the modern individual wants to connect socially from a business point of view and from a fitness point of view as well, and all those uses will be housed within the actual building. We feel as though people want to be able to move from fitness to meeting back to leisure very quickly in their lives, and like I said, to do that in one and house it in one building is something that we're really excited about, and hopefully I can be stood up here next year or amongst you next year talking about that project well on its way to being finished and ready to be occupied. Don't know how I've put that one in. Again, looking at a very special and unique feature, it'll have we'll have the largest roof terrace in terms of capacity in Manchester, about 250 to 300 people over 2 floors. Again, there'll be a retractable roof. I do believe that we've got out of our heads now that that Manchester can have outdoor leisure space. I think when you look at some of the successful projects that have happened, think of the restaurant bar grill roof terrace, for instance, which is something that I love being on. Even on a wet and windy day, it's fantastic to be sat out there and feel as though you're in the outdoor space. And I think that's where I believe, looking at the inspiration of others, and I'll say it, copying, we wanted to create the best and biggest outdoor space in Manchester for you to use. And I think that's something, again, that we feel will be fantastic for that building. It'll have a podium up on the top, which will be open air, but the downstairs terrace will be actually covered, but is able to be, like I say, a retractable roof on it, similar to the project at Old Trafford. The basement will be a gym. Myself and Ryan have got this idea that we can create a fitness program that can be done inside 30 minutes. We believe that that's probably about the amount of time that people want to spend in a gym. It needs to be exciting, it needs to invigorate. We'll have fitness coaches and sports science people down there who will give you your own individual programs. That's the aim. And draw upon our experiences that we've had in sport to be able to give you some of that insight, so that actually you can do everything inside a 30-minute period, because life's so fast now. You haven't got time to spend, an hour travelling to a gym, an hour in there and then an hour back. It's got to be a lot quicker than that. And we feel as though if you can be down there and done in half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, and then back in a meeting sort of 10 minutes later, that's probably pretty much, will suit a lot of the way in which you want to work and how we see things going moving forwards. So this is now the big one. So Howard said that he'd booed me for the previous 10 years. If I don't deliver this, he'll be booing me for the next 10 as well. So Jackson's Row, Manchester. Some exciting news just yesterday. The City Council acquired the Bootle Street Police Station. And we've got a development agreement between us and the City Council now to deliver this project. We're in the very early stages. Speaking to the very, very necessary parties, English Heritage and such like, about the scheme. But we've got a connection to Albert Square, and we see that Make Architects have been appointed as the head architect on the scheme. And we're looking at how we can connect Spinningfields through Deansgate into Albert Square and connect it and make it a real destination for people to want to be. That's where we're at with it at this moment in time in our aspirations. And also how we can create fantastic open spaces. The idea of that being the heart on the front end of the site. But I think if you push it forward a little bit more, the idea that we can create maybe 2 spaces is even more exciting to us, in the idea that it becomes a place whereby we've seen, again, successful development. Spinningfields has got wonderful open spaces, and the idea now that I feel that people don't want to develop whole sites out, the idea they see the real benefit of open space, public realm, and enticing people in. And that's what we hope to do when we start working really on the design on Jackson's Row. So there's some early sketches of potentially how it might go. Let's say it's very early. We're in consultation with, let's say, the City Council and other parties about how we take this forward. But this time next year, I'll be hoping that we can stand up here and be proud that we're moving towards delivering what will be an incredibly spectacular scheme for Manchester, and something that we can be proud of as well. I think I'm passionate about residential and how we can entice families back into the city. And I think the big thing for me is, they'll always say we haven't got a garden. We want to try and create spaces where there's gardens in the sky. So the idea of these little cutouts where you create double height spaces, maybe some greenery, and give that feeling that people and families can move back into the city. Again, I don't believe there's any reason or any excuse for any building to be built, a new building, that doesn't have a roof terrace. I think every building that gets built in Manchester now, get these M&E designers working a lot harder to get that plant somewhere else. That's what needs to happen, and create those open spaces on top, because I think they're our gardens for our residents, for our families to be able to use. And I think that's what we intend to do on the residential elements of Jackson's Row, is to try and entice families back into the city. I know they're already coming back in, but more and more families. And I think that the idea of promising them that green space within their own building, that access to leisure and fitness and business as well, I think is going to be incredibly important. And almost like I use Jordan Street, for the feeling that that would be something that I think would be incredibly powerful for us on Jackson's Row. And that's pretty much it. I was given 15 minutes. I can talk a lot longer than that if you like, but that's pretty much where I'm up to at this moment in time. Excited about delivering Jordan Street and Old Trafford, and incredibly excited, and even more so about what's going to happen on the Stock Exchange and Jackson's Row in the next 12 to 18 months. Thank you very much. Thank you. If you want to ask any questions, they can.
Gary's very kindly offered to answer a few questions, if anyone's got any, but not about football.
You can if you want.
Yeah.
You might not get the answer you want.
So does anyone want to use this as an opportunity for a question to Gary? Don't feel as though you have to.
It reminds me of when Sir Alex used to say, "Any questions, lads?" No, boss, we're all right.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi. Yeah, just want to, this is obviously the last event now on the stand. I think it's important that I, on your behalf really, thank a few people. For many of you, we started this week on Monday night when we all got together. And I think the arrangements this week have been absolutely fantastic. So on behalf of all of you, I'd like to thank the Marketing Manchester, in particular Claire, and everyone for ensuring that this week has gone off so brilliantly. So thanks, Claire. Can I thank my colleagues, Pat somewhere at the back, for keeping me on track this week, Eddie, Eamon, Deborah, and others for being here and helping to make absolutely certain that we've done well. Mr. Emmerich, I think, is at the back. There he is, yes. Thanks, Mike. Indeed, thanks everybody, because you know, these are not easy weeks. I know all of you have worked incredibly hard. I know I've worked bloody hard this week, but I think all of you can feel absolutely proud of the contribution you've made, because I think when we leave here, the one thing I am clear about, whatever comes on the back of this week in terms of new investment, Manchester leaves here with its reputation enhanced as a city where not only we can do business, but where things get done. So thanks very much indeed. I think the time when we now just get together, I think it's 7 o'clock at the Manchester Bar, when we'll all have an opportunity to thank each other on a personal basis. Thanks very much.